Hey there guys, how are you today, and welcome to my review of the 2017 Mexican Grand Prix. So yes, before I get into a video, I just want to wish you guys happy Halloween. I'm not really interested in this type of thing, but I'm sure some of you are, and I hope you have a great day and enjoy going trick-or-treating, whatever it is, but please just watch my video first. Okay, so let's get into this review. So of course, the main headline from the Mexican Grand Prix was that Lewis Hamilton is now a four-time world champion. He didn't exactly have a very good race, as I'll get into in a second, but he is now a four-time world champion, meaning he's equal with Vettel and Alain Prost, and just behind Fangio and Schumacher in terms of world championship wins. So yeah, pretty good stuff for him. And now let's get into this review. So, as for Lewis Hamilton, yes, he is world champion, but didn't have the greatest of weekends. Mercedes did expect to struggle this weekend because they knew they had to have high downforce because of the thin air in Mexico at that altitude, quite a high up the track. So lots of high altitude, meaning high downforce, which normally leads to Mercedes struggling for whatever reason. They'll be hoping to sort it out for next year. And yeah, so Hamilton only qualified in P3, but made quite a good start. And it was 3 wide between Hamilton, Vettel and Verstappen into the first complex of corners, but there was a collision between Lewis Hamilton and his championship rival Sebastian Vettel. I'm not going to say it was anyone's fault. I think there's been a lot of debate. It was either a racing incident or Vettel's fault. I haven't seen anyone saying it was Hamilton's fault, but I'm going to sit on the fence. I don't, a bit like the stewards did, I don't really think anyone's to blame, and it's just a racing incident, and to be honest, helped the excitement of the race, to be honest. So I'm not going to say anything there. And anyway, Hamilton had a puncture and Vettel had a broken front wing, and Hamilton fought back to P9 to take the championship. So I guess now we have to say, how does he compare to the greats? I guess tell me in the comments. How can you compare him to Fangio or Prost or Schumacher or whoever? I know people don't always like his personality, but let's talk about on-track action. How would Hamilton compare to these guys? Tell me in the comments. Moving on to his teammate, Valtteri Bottas, a pretty quiet race for the Finnish driver. P2, he was 19 seconds behind the winners, so maybe highlighting the lack of Mercedes pace this weekend. But Bottas did match Hamilton in qualifying, so we can't really say anything negative about Bottas too much, because you can only compare to his teammate, and he was as fast as Hamilton this weekend. Moving on now to Ferrari. So of course, as I said, Sebastian Vettel's no longer in the title race. The title is Hamilton's now, but Vettel did try to fight this weekend a bit. To be fair, a superb pole position for the German driver. And again, I know people are saying it's debatable about the first lap, but I'm not going to go into that. And Vettel did have some good overtakes to get through the field. He fought back up to P4, pretty impressive stuff, considering he had a broken front wing on the first lap. And he had some brilliant overtakes on Massa and Perez and Ocon, I believe, some brilliant moves by Vettel, and I'm sure he'll be one of the favourites to win the World Championship in 2018. Moving on to Kimi Räikkönen, a poor qualifying for the Finnish driver, only in P5, but he did get a podium because obviously Hamilton and Vettel were behind him. But he was 54 seconds behind the race winner Verstappen, and we know Ferrari have at least one of the best cars. So yeah, race pace wise, Raikkonen needs to up his game for the rest of the season and next season. Moving on now to Red Bull, and yes, Max Verstappen was pretty dominant this weekend. He had a strong qualifying, although he did just miss out on pole, but that was because Sebastian Vettel had a beast of a lap. But Verstappen had a great start and dominated the race. Of course, he was helped by the fact that Hamilton and Vettel crashed into each other. But Verstappen was dominant. He beat Bottas, he beat Raikkonen. No real issues, nothing. We can't really be critical of Verstappen at all. In fact, his team were telling him to slow down. And yeah, I guess he'll be very happy to have got this following what happened with the stewards at the US Grand Prix. Now, Daniel Ricciardo. Poor Daniel Ricciardo. Difficult Q3. He then took some engine penalties, and then he retired the race because of an engine issue. So yeah, he didn't do a lot. He had a good practice sessions, but he struggled in Q3. I don't know why for sure. He was out qualified by Force India, and then he had an engine failure in the race. And does this mean yet another engine penalty for the Australian driver at the Brazilian Grand Prix? I'm not really sure how that's going to go. But in his defence, in the 6-7 laps that he did have on track, Ricciardo was making good progress. So that's something, I guess. Now, moving on to Force India. So Perez, who of course was at his home race, struggled in qualifying, only in P10, which was quite low in comparison to his teammate Esteban Ocon. But he'll be happy to have finished the race in P7. He had some good battles with Magnussen, for example, and I guess he would have pleased the home fans just about. Also, he did do a lovely team radio message to the fans at the start of qualifying, which I thought was quite a nice touch. Now moving on to his teammate Esteban Ocon, faster than his teammate this weekend, so to show him up at his home race. P6 in qualifying, beating a Red Bull, though I'm not too sure what was wrong with Daniel Ricciardo's Red Bull in qualifying. And P5 in the race, his joint best ever finish for the young driver. So, good weekend for Esteban Ocon, and I think now 4th place is confirmed for Force India. Moving on to the Williams team, and yes, news emerged over that Kvyat is in the running for the seat next season, which of course Massa is obviously fighting to keep. But I would say this weekend wasn't a very good one by Massa, especially in comparison to his teammate. He didn't get into the points, and yeah, it just wasn't his strongest race. He didn't do anything that exciting. While Lance Stroll had a great weekend. He finished in P6, and yeah, he's gonna have really helped Williams to get P5 in the Constructors' Championship, which of course is very important. Moving on to Toro Rosso, who had a terrible weekend. It was shit. Honestly, really, really shit. Gasly had reliability issues all weekend, didn't take part in qualifying, and therefore was quite slow in the race. And then Hartley didn't finish the race, but in his defence, he was beating Gasly at the time before his engine blew. His car was on fire, I believe. So yeah, pretty poor weekend. They had two inexperienced drivers at the wheel. But, we can't really be critical of them. The reliability issues isn't their fault, particularly. And yeah, terrible weekend for Toro Rosso and in general Renault engine cars. And yeah, talking of Renault, again, a double DNF. Hülkenberg did out-qualify Sainz, which was nice to see. So it'll be interesting to see who will come out on top in that battle for the rest of the season, and most importantly next season. So yeah, tell me who you think is better, Nico Hülkenberg or Carlos Sainz. And yes, a double DNF. At least Toro Rosso did have one car at the finish in Pierre Gasly, but he didn't compete in qualifying. But Hülkenberg and Sainz both failed to finish the race. So I believe Sainz had more of a handling issue, but Hülkenberg was certainly a turbo issue or something like that. Moving on to the Haas team, poor qualifying, both cars out of Q1. But Magnussen had a great race to get up to P8. I'm guessing he benefited from the virtual safety car, and obviously the stuff going on ahead of him. But Grosjean was the last of the finishers, so not a great race for the French driver. And we're hoping for better luck next time out, although we knew this wasn't going to be a good track for Haas, as it's a high downforce circuit. Now, McLaren Honda. Alonso had great pace in qualifying, but both cars had engine penalties. So, in Q1, Alonso was in P5 and was the fastest in the middle sector, showing how good that car is in the corners and how just the engine is letting it down. But both cars did finish the race for a change. Alonso did get a point. He managed to keep Hamilton behind him for a couple of laps. Some great battling there, I would say. So nice to see Hamilton and Alonso racing again. Hopefully that's something we're going to see a lot more over the next couple of years. And yes, so a decent weekend for McLaren overall. Yes, they did have the engine penalties, but Alonso did get a point in the race. So, some competitiveness there. So, finally, Sauber. Both cars did nearly get out of Q1. And Ericsson was running in P8 for quite a long time, then had engine issues, his car was on fire. But maybe is there a small stepping stone for next season? They showed a bit more pace in the last couple of races. They beat Haas in qualifying fair and square. So I don't know how they're going to do it. Let's see how that works out. So yeah, guys, that's the end of the video. Tell me what you thought of the race, and if you thought it was a good race or not. And I'll see you guys my preview the 2017 Brazilian Grand Prix. Thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you really enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this and other types of videos, please subscribe to my channel. If you have anything to say in the comments, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. Also, go and check out the video that should be on screen right now, and come and follow me on Twitter, BigGaming342, and Facebook, BigGaming342, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Goodbye.